Coming up on this Wednesday edition of Daybreak, on her state visit to Vietnam, President Park Geun-hye makes a stop at the country's economic hub of Ho Chi Minh City. She urges officials there to provide more support and tax incentives to Korean businesses. 16 years after the court's ruling, former President Chun Doo-hwan says he will pay back 3/4 of the $200 million he owes in unpaid fines for corruption charges. Prosecutors say they will take the payment into account in their investigation into the Chun family's illegal activities. Plus, a UN Security Council meeting on the Syrian crisis is called off after Russia rejects a French-led resolution that refers to consequences should Syria fail to hand over its chemical weapons. The resolution is now under revision by France, Britain and the US. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Wednesday, September 11th, and I'm Choi Yusun here in Seoul. President Park Geun-hye continued her diplomatic drive to bolster business ties in Vietnam during her state visit on Tuesday. She traveled to Vietnam's economic capital, Ho Chi Minh City, where she urged the Vietnamese government to offer more support and easing of regulations to Korean businesses there. Oh Jin-ju reports.
Hanoi may be the political capital of Vietnam, but Ho Chi Minh City is the economic center. President Park on Tuesday flew over to the nation's economic capital and held talks with the city's party committee secretary Lee Tan-hai and Mayor Lee Hwan-kwan.
특히 그 경제 분야에 있어서 우리 두 나라 간의 그 협력 증진이 양국 국민들의 삶에 크게 기여하고 있다 이런 생각을 했습니다.
President Park called for further support for Korean companies operating in Vietnam, asked city officials to ease regulations for employment of foreign workers and construction, and to provide tax incentives for businesses that invest in the country again. Later in the day, President Park toured the biggest Korean company operating in Ho Chi Minh City called Hanse.
기술력을 높이고 또 생산 라인을 이렇게 글로벌화하고 하면 얼마든지 경쟁력을 높일 수 있는 그런 또 사례도 봤다고 생각을 합니다.
Hanse is an apparel firm that makes products for global fashion brands like Gap, Nike, and Uniqlo through original equipment manufacturer or OEM deals. Senior Presidential Secretary for Economic Affairs Cho Won-dong told reporters that President Park's trip to the city aimed to address one of Vietnam's most urgent economic issues, the imbalance in its bilateral trade with Korea as imports far exceed exports. Her visit to the company, Cho added, will serve to encourage Korean firms to invest in Vietnam and export products made there to other countries as a way to solve the imbalance in bilateral trade. President Park also met with leaders of Korean businesses operating in that city, including Lotte Mart, Hyosung, and CJ, and listened to the difficulties they face in doing business in Vietnam. Many observers say President Park's sales diplomacy, added with her soft diplomacy in Vietnam, led to a number of tangible results in the economic sector. After wrapping up her 5-day stay here in Vietnam, President Park will be returning to Seoul on Wednesday. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News, Hanoi.
The two Koreas carried on negotiations on the resumption of their joint industrial park overnight and are still trying to narrow their differences. For some 20 hours since Tuesday morning, the Joint Committee on the Kaesong Industrial Complex has been discussing the date of the complex reopening, ways to protect South Korean workers and their assets, and compensation for the 5-month-long suspension. While the two sides are expected to release a statement on the outcome of the meeting, they could set another date for talks if no agreement is reached. Many had hoped factory operations at Kaesong would resume before Korea's Thanksgiving holiday next week. Nearly 30 South Korean personnel stayed overnight at the border town to check up on facilities. Washington's chief nuclear envoy Glenn Davies, who was in Seoul this week for a two-day visit, says the U.S. remains open to dialogue with North Korea, but only if the North takes tangible steps toward dismantling its nuclear program. Our foreign affairs correspondent Hwang Sung-hee has more.
Washington's top nuclear envoy, Glenn Davies, says that it's not yet time for the heads of the six-party denuclearization talks to return to the negotiating table. Following an hour-long meeting with his South Korean counterpart Cho Tae-yong in Seoul on Tuesday, Davies said that for the talks to resume, North Korea must first work toward fulfilling its obligations.
We need to see some sign that they are sincere about what is the central issue of the six-party process, which is the peaceful denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Davies said China's recent proposal for an informal meeting between the six-party member nations would be helpful in gathering academic opinion on North Korea, but stressed the time is not right for the top nuclear negotiators to get together. Beijing had proposed talks among experts and the highest-ranking nuclear officials from the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia, on September 18th in Beijing, as part of efforts for a swift resumption of the multilateral dialogue. Seoul and Washington said that the conditions for dialogue have been clearly laid out for the North.
The actions that North Korea must take are clearly outlined in the September 19th joint declaration, in various agreements reached during the six-party talks, and in the UN Security Council resolutions.
The visiting U.S. official stressed that while Washington remains open to dialogue with Pyongyang, the talks will only take place if and when the North reverses its direction towards denuclearization. Davies will meet with officials in Beijing and Tokyo before wrapping up his three-nation visit to Northeast Asia later this week. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
At last, the 16-year hunt for the hidden fortune of former President Chun Doo-hwan is coming to a close. Buckling under government pressure, Chun, who refused to pay more than $150 million in unpaid fines for corruption during his rule in the 1980s, has finally vowed to pay up. Chun Doo-hwan reports.
It has been 16 years since Korea's top court ordered former President Chun Doo-hwan to return over $200 million he amassed illegally during his dictatorship to the state. The former authoritarian president has paid only a quarter of the sum and claimed he has no money left to settle the rest. But after the government's long and drawn-out search for assets supposedly hidden by the disgraced dictator under his relatives' names, his eldest son, Chun Jae-guk, made a public apology and promised that the family will return the remainder to the state.
We sincerely apologize for causing public concern. We are also sorry for being late in resolving this issue, and my father has told us to fully cooperate with the authorities.
The younger Chun rolled out a list of family assets that would be used to pay off the fines. They include the Chun family's real estates, including the former president's whole home, highly valued artworks and stocks. The move comes after state prosecutors had confiscated nearly $83 million worth of assets held by the family. The former dictator's family will divide up over $150 million worth of fines which Chun owes to the state. Since May, the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office has led an investigation into the Chun family to search for assets they said were concealed by the family on behalf of the former president. Chim Young-gil, Arirang News.
The Korean economy appears to be on a gradual recovery path backed by strong employment and increased consumption. The Ministry of Strategy and Finance, in its Economic Trends Report Tuesday, said the number of the newly employed increased by 300,000 in July compared to the same period a year earlier, while department store sales and consumption of gasoline increased by 7% and 11% respectively. The ministry warned, however, that Washington's tapering of its stimulus program remains a threat to emerging economies as financial markets are expected to fluctuate, dragging down growth.
if you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Chun Doo-hwan said Tuesday that Turning now to the latest on the Syria chemical weapons stalemate. And a UN Security Council meeting, which was requested by Russia, was later called off as Moscow and other council members wrangle over ways to resolve the crisis over chemical weapons use. This comes after Moscow reportedly rejected France's resolution to put the Assad regime at fault should the Syrian government fail to reveal and turn in its stockpile of chemical weapons. This is what the French foreign minister said earlier.
France will propose today to its partners of the UN Security Council a draft resolution under Chapter 7, which aims at turning those ideas into reality. First, to condemn the massacre by the Syrian regime on August 21st. Secondly, to demand from this regime that they shed light on their chemical weapons program without further delay, that they place it under international control and that it be destroyed.
France, Britain, and the U.S. are currently in the process of revising the resolution. The Syrian government has accepted a Russian proposal to put all the country's chemical weapons under international control so that they can be destroyed. Syrian Foreign Minister Walid Muallim said agreed to Moscow's initiative during talks with his Russian counterpart a day earlier. In an interview earlier this week, U.S. President Barack Obama said the Russians' proposal could potentially be a positive development, but also said it must be carefully assessed. The opposition forces in Syria and Turkey are reportedly against the Russian initiative, saying the Assad regime must be punished for its use of chemical weapons against civilians. The operator of the stricken Fukushima nuclear plant has contradicted claims by the Japanese government that radiation leaks from the site are completely under control. TEPCO again stated that tritium, a radioactive isotope, is leaking into the ocean, and added that underwater fences installed around the plant are not capable of blocking the leaks since they are designed to only stop matter or mud from passing through. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe assured the International Olympic Committee last week that contaminated water from the plant was not leaking into the ocean and that the situation was under control. Apple has unveiled two new iPhones, the upgraded iPhone 5S and the low-cost iPhone 5C. The more expensive iPhone 5S carries a so-called Touch ID, a fingerprint sensor that's built into the phone's home button to identify the user. Apple says the upgraded version is up to twice as fast as the iPhone 5, and its camera will allow videos to be shown in slow motion for the first time ever. The iPhone 5C, which is priced as low as $99 with a 2-year mobile contract, is Apple's attempt to expand into lucrative developing markets and comes in 5 different colors. It has an enhanced camera function as well as a slightly larger battery compared to the existing iPhone 5. Both phones will launch simultaneously on September 20th. German Thomas Bach has been elected as the new president of the International Olympic Committee. The former fencing gold medalist is the first Olympic champion to head the IOC in the body's 119-year history. Bach defeated 5 rival candidates in Tuesday's secret balloting after securing a winning majority in the second round of voting in Buenos Aires. He replaces 71-year-old Jacques Rogge, who is stepping down after 12 years in charge. Bach becomes the 9th president of the world's most powerful sports body and 8th European to hold position, keeping the body in European hands. Korea's Seoul National University has been ranked the 31st best university in the world. SNU's spot in this year's QS World University Rankings is the best the Korean institution has ever earned, and 2 notches higher from last year. SNU says rigorous research activities by its faculty and good performance evaluations of its graduates by firms helped to boost its rank. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the U.S. scored #1, while 3 of the top 5 were British universities. Korea's KAIST came in at 60th place. Tuesday marked the 11th World Suicide Prevention Day, a day dedicated to raising awareness and stopping people from taking their own lives. It's an especially poignant day for Korea, which still has the highest suicide rate among OECD nations. Our Kim Hyun-ji has more on why the teenage suicide rate in particular has spiked over the last 10 years.
Lee-jin-ah is a middle school student. The 7th grader loathes the moment she gets her test results back at school. She says she cried many times alone after receiving scores she feels do not reflect her efforts.
My mom would yell at me saying, "What are you going to do with such poor test scores?" She also scolds me for not working hard enough. But I do work hard. Because of this, I always quarrel with my mom over grades.
New data show that 12% of all adolescents in the nation have had suicidal thoughts, driven by feelings of deep sorrow and anger. In 2001, the suicide rate among Koreans aged between 10 and 19 was 3.2 per 100,000 people. But the rate jumped to 5.6 per 100,000 in 2011, a near 1.8-fold increase in just 10 years. The rate of increase was the second fastest among OECD nations, following Chile. While economic hardship is the leading cause among the adult population for suicide, the biggest issues driving adolescents to the brink include academic concerns and family troubles. Less than 10% of teen suicides are linked to depression, a stark difference compared to adults, where depression is often a leading factor. To stem the growing problem among the nation's youth, experts stress that the issue of teen suicides should be approached differently than adult suicides. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
And a good Wednesday morning to you all as we kick things off with a big match that took place last night between the Korean national football team and Croatia. Now, a lot of expectations for the Taeguk Warriors, but in the end, they fell just short. Now, Croatia showing a very impressive game in the midfield, but the Korean defense even more impressive as they held the Croatian side to a scoreless draw after the first half of the match. But in the second half, the defense collapses against the quick passing of Croatia, giving up 2 goals in the second half. Meanwhile, the Korean offense unable to capitalize on several scoring opportunities, just get a last-second goal from Lee Geun-hye just before the whistle blows. As Korea loses to Croatia 2-1. Despite the loss, Korea looks very optimistic going into their October friendlies. Well, not the greatest night for all the football fans here in the nation last night, but same goes for the baseball fans who missed out on the 2 big games due to the weather. The Tucson Bears and the LG Twins series was canceled due to the rain, and the Samsung Lions and the Nexen Heroes were canceled as well due to the weather conditions. But the other 4 teams got their games in as we start things off with the Lotte Giants taking on the NC Dinos. Now we're going to go over to the 3rd inning of the game. Bases loaded, no one out for the NC Dinos. Kim Jung-ho singles to left. This scores 2 runners as the NC Dinos take a 2-0 lead. Next batter, Lee Sang-ho at bat bunts over the runners, and we now have men on 2nd and 3rd with 1 man out. Next batter, super rookie Na Sung-bun sends this one to deep to left field. A sac fly scores the 3rd run of the inning as NC takes the lead 3-0. Stays that well until the 7th inning with Chung Hoon. He's going to send this one to deep left field. back. This one is out of here. A solo shot cuts the deficit to 3-1. Before Sona Sub with the bases loaded gets a sac fly to get the Lotte Giants a bit closer in this game. Now we go over to the 9th inning. Son Min-an on the mound. Jung-un grounds out to the pitcher. 1 man out. Next batter, Cho Sung-hwan taps one to the pitcher again. 2 men out. Last hope for the Lotte Giants. Here is Hwang Jae-gyun at bat. Strikes out looking, ball game over. NC takes this game 3-2. And next up, the SK Wyverns taking on the Kia Tigers. First inning, Kim Gang-min here, a 2-run double to right. Gives the SK Wyverns the early 2-0 lead. Next inning, here's Kim Joo-hyung deep to left field. Here we go, back on the track at the wall. Gone, a 2-run shot ties the ball game 2-2. Fourth inning, here is Kim Sung-hyun, RBI double to left field here, gives SK the lead once again. Shifting to the 7th inning, here's Park Geun-hye here, an RBI double to left center field, and what do you know, we have a brand new ball game. Next inning, here is Cho In-sung, drives this one to left field, back, gone, a solo shot over the left field wall as SK now takes the lead 4-3. 9th inning, Choi Jung to close things off, an RBI double down the left field line as SK Wyverns hang on to take this game 5-3, your final score. And staying in baseball, where it's no surprise that some of the pitchers here in the KBO have been getting interest from the overseas teams. And the two big names at the moment are Oh Sung-hwan of the Samsung Lions and Yoon Sung-min of the Kia Tigers. And while Oh Sung-hwan has been getting a lot of interest from Japan and the U.S., looks like Yoon Sung-min is still the better pitcher according to the Major League scouts. While the Samsung Lions closer is posting a better record this season compared to Yoon Sung-min, many scouts believe that the Kia Tiger will eventually get more interest after the season. Scouts believe that Oh Sung-hwan might be able to close for a lower team in the majors, but Yoon Sung-min's experience as a starting pitcher will raise his value more. Now, both pitchers are free agents after the season and will be seeking a contract with either the NPB or the MLB. And over to basketball, where Game 3 of the semifinals between Korea University and Yonsei University took place yesterday, with Korea University pulling away with a 81-75 win thanks to Lee Jong-hyun's 30-point effort and Park Jae-hyun also contributing with 22 points in the game. Now, with the win, Korea University will now face off against Kyunghee University in the finals. All right, so with that said, finishing things off with the U.S. Open men's finals between Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic. Now, the rivalry between the two stars heats up even more as Nadal takes this match in 4 sets, 6-2, 6-3, check that, 3-6, 6-4, and 6-1 to claim this year's U.S. Open men's title. With the U.S. Open win, the 27-year-old Spaniard earns his 13th Grand Slam title, closing in on Roger Federer's record of 17 Grand Slam titles. And with that said, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Happy Wednesday morning to you. I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, it was raining heavily on my way to work about a couple of hours ago, but it's gradually thinning out. And with the all-day long rain and cloudy skies, afternoon highs are expected to be 1 to 2 degrees lower than yesterday. But the humidity level seems to be very high at 90% on average this morning. Now, the rain clouds are dominating the peninsula, dropping light to heavy showers at times. So make sure to keep your umbrella handy this morning and put on a light jacket to your commute. It's breezy and windy right now. The rain will clear up towards the mid-afternoon, and even after the rain goes away, the sun will stay behind the clouds throughout the day, so it will be another cloudy day for most regions, but Jeju will have glimpses of sunshine. Now, tomorrow we'll start out with mostly sunny skies, and the showers strike back to Seoul and surrounding areas later in the afternoon, and that late day showers in central region might linger till Saturday afternoon, so it looks like we shouldn't put our umbrellas away for the rest of the week. With that, it's time to take a look at today's readings. Now, the morning lows are similar to yesterday as the capital started out at 20 degrees Celsius, and daytime highs will only rise to 24 degrees Celsius, that's 75 degrees in Fahrenheit, and afternoon highs in Daegu and Busan will get up into 27. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju will also get up to 28 with a good amount of sunshine, while Dokdo and Mount Kumgang will be under the lots of clouds, but much cooler afternoon is on tap for Mount Kumgang. Now that wraps up the weather forecast for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. That's all I have for you this morning. Enjoy your morning commute and have a wonderful Wednesday.
And those are the stories we have for you at this hour. Stay with us throughout the day as we bring you the latest headlines.